Alright, next we're going to talk about how to find a third order determinant. So this is a determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, so again we're going to see something like this. And then again we're taking our forward diagonal set minus the backward diagonal set. So what I'm going to do as we work through this page is I'm actually going to show you how to calculate this using the diagonal method. And then I'm going to put the formula up here and I'm going to show you kind of the shortcut that you can work through if that makes sense to you. So if we're using the diagonal method, we are actually going to take whatever matrix they give us, so whatever 3 by 3 matrix, and we're going to write it 4 times. Okay? So I'm taking this matrix and I'm going to write it 4 times. So I already wrote the first 2, and then I'm going to add the second 2 right next to it. So we're just going to recopy this right next to it. So if you're following along, taking notes, you're going to want to copy these down too. So you might need to pause the video so that you can catch up after you are writing. And the numbers here stand for the row that it's in case you're wondering. Alright, so now we're going to start adding our general formula and talking about the pattern that we're going to use to find the determinant. So again, we're going to start in the middle and we're going to multiply along this forward diagonal. So we're going to take A1 times B2 times C3. Okay, so I'm going to write that up here. So A1 times B2 times C3. Okay. And then we're going to add that to the next diagonal. Okay. So now we're going to take B1 times C2 times A3. Okay. So again, that is our diagonal. So I'm going to write it, so A is first, so it's going to be A3 times C2 times B1. And the order that you multiply these in really does not matter. And then we're going to add that to our third forward diagonal. Okay, so again, we're going to take C1 times A2 times B3, and we're going to multiply those 3 together. Again, I'm going to start down at the bottom. So B3 times A2 times C1. And we're going to group those together. And then we're going to do that same process but backwards, and we're going to subtract in between. Okay, so again, starting in the middle, we're going to multiply A3 times B2 times C1. Okay, so A3 times B2 times C1. And then we're going to add that to the next set of backwards diagonals. Okay, so that's going to be B3 C2 A1 multiplied together. So B3 C2 A1. And then we're going to add that to the last set. Okay. So C3 times A2 times B1. So we're going to multiply those together. So C3, A2, B1. Okay. So this is our general formula. So now when we're looking at it, if we want to kind of do the shortcut without having to write it 4 times, if you notice on our forward one, we're taking again the center diagonal times each other. And then our C2B1, so that's actually above it. So we're going to multiply the top 2, and then we have 1 left over on the bottom. And then our last one, so again that's going to be our top leftover, so the C1, and then times the 2 that are remaining underneath. So that's kind of the pattern that we're using without having to write it 4 times. And the backwards one is exactly the same. So again, we start in the middle diagonal. And then if we go above, we're taking A2 times B1 times C3 that's left over on the bottom. So we should always be multiplying 3 numbers together. And that has to be in that diagonal pattern. So again, it's going to be this B3C2 and then our leftover A1 at the top. So if this pattern up here makes sense to you, you can use that without having to write it 4 times. But if this makes more sense, then I would do it this way. But either way, we're going to have this as our general formula. So the next set of videos, we'll do some actual examples.